Welp, it really is going to come down to game 82, isn't it?
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I am your host, Jess Belosto, and thank you so much for joining me. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Today, we are going to check in on the playoff race and why St. Louis just might never slow down. And let's talk about Jakob Chychrun's extension and how that kind of puts the Flames in dangerous territory when it comes to Andersson's extension, as well as the latest news on Mikael Backlund and why Sharangovich should potentially sit out for a bit. But make sure you are subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. And let's dive right into this because we are drawing closer and closer to the end of this season. It feels unbelievable. I feel like we were just talking about how to keep our expectations at bay and not to put too much pressure on Dustin Wolf. And here we are, almost 6 months later, and the Flames are in the playoff race. They are currently 3 points out. They have 3 games in hand on St. Louis, and the Vancouver Canucks are just 2 points out. So it is a bit tough, right? And it doesn't help that, New Jersey lost, or I guess Vancouver beat New Jersey in a shootout, and Jacob Markstrom was doing Jacob Markstrom things, and just absolute brutal performance from the Devils end, and it stinks because you need Vancouver realistically to lose every game they could. that would be ideal, especially with St. Louis going like they're currently on a 6-game win streak. I cannot believe that. If you told me that was going to be the case here on March 25th, I would have said, no, you are out of your mind. And to me, it's kind of crazy because they did have a tough start to the season. They needed a new voice and new direction, and Jim Montgomery happened to be that guy, and they have been great since he's taken over, which is great to see. Montgomery bounce back so quickly after being fired from Boston, and the Blues are currently on a 2019-esque run, and that's a problem. That is a very big problem because no one was stopping them in 2019, and I would love to see the Flames put an end to their season. I would love to see the Flames just come out on top here, but the further things, the closer the end of the season draws, the more concerned I'm getting with the fact that the Flames just aren't going to be able to catch St. Louis. They do have 3 games in hand there, so part of me does wonder, could they come out on top? I mean, yeah, anything's possible, but it does feel like you need a lot of things to go your way. And we know from years past that if you need a lot of things to go your way, luck isn't necessarily on your side. And that's a problem. The Flames have struggled offensively. That has been their biggest weakness this season, has been offense. And it's great that, Dustin Wolf has been so strong in net, but you can't just go out there and score 2 goals every night and expect to win. This team just doesn't necessarily have that scoring touch right now, and you're not going to magically find that within your organization. They got really lucky with Matt Coronado and how he has excelled this season. I think that one thing that has been so important this year has been Matt Coronado's success and the strides he's taken in his development. Do I think things maybe could have been a little better had Zary not gotten injured? It's hard to say. I mean, he wasn't necessarily scoring a ton before, but I do wonder if, the goals where the Flames needed a finishing touch, if he could have been that. But I feel like if you are, it honestly feels like no matter how you look at things with the Flames, you're at a fork in the road. Because if your team tank, you're probably pretty excited that the Flames are out of a playoff spot. It might be the mushy middle, but at least it's not the playoffs. But then if your team fun or team playoffs, you're bummed out. Like, obviously, this isn't what you want at the moment, but you're still optimistic. There's still, 3 weeks left to the season, and there's so much can change and so much can happen, not even just in that time frame, but literally in a period of hockey that could shift the momentum for any of these teams, for Vancouver, for Calgary, for I'm trying to think who else, any of these teams that are in that wild card spot, in that wild card race. There's a lot of hockey left to be played, and I think we should all be excited for it. But coming up next, we are going to talk about the latest defenseman contract that may put the Flames in a little bit of trouble when it comes to a Rasmus Andersson contract extension. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. The FanDuel app is super easy and simple to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. There's no waiting around, and you can cash in immediately. With tournament games happening almost every day, there's always something exciting to bet on. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started today. All right, so let me tell you about a snack that is powering me through the end of the hockey season, and that would be Wonderful Pistachios. If you're looking for a delicious snack that is also nutritious, Wonderful Pistachios has you covered. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. I love the no shells because they are so quick and easy to grab when I'm on the fly at work, in between hockey games, or whatever the case may be. They keep me fueled. Get snacking and get cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Thanks everyone for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. Your team every day. And I think alarm bells went off a bit this morning, or this early afternoon, when it was announced that Jakob Chychrun signed a $72 million contract. So that's $9 million over the next 8 years with the Washington Capitals. This is likely the comp Rasmus Andersson and his agent will use. This sends off alarm bells, flares, red flags, sirens, big red X's, the no deal button, everything. Like this just screams absolutely not. And this is not no disrespect to Rasmus Andersson, because we know what Rasmus Andersson gives to this team night in and night out, and has so for the last uh, 10, 12 years, if not longer. It is very difficult for me to sit here and say, yeah, Rasmus Andersson's extension should be 8 years long and it should come in at around, $7 million, and, maybe 8 if you're feeling lucky, because that's not something I believe. I don't believe that the Flames should explore signing Rasmus Andersson. I think they need to explore trading him. They are not in a position to have a 29-year-old defenseman locked up for 8 years at any price, but especially a more expensive price. Do I think that Conroy might give him a little bit of a pay bump because he's a homegrown talent? Yeah, I do. I think that the Flames will likely extend him, and it's going to be looked at, and it's going to potentially be a laughable contract. I hope not. I hope I am wrong, but I don't think that there is a world where Rasmus Andersson should be making more than Mackenzie Weegar. I think that if anything, he should come in at around $6 million, which is still a raise from his current $4.5 million contract. Obviously, guys at this point in their career are looking for that long-term deal. However, I do think it is just absolutely ridiculous to expect this Flames team that is rebuilding to throw that kind of money and term at an aging defenseman. I think they need to approach this how they approached free agency, and there's no reason. The only players that should be getting long-term extensions right now are, Coronado, Wolf, Zary. Like, those are the only players I would be even talking. Did I mention Wolf? Those are the only players that I would be okay with signing long term. It just does not make any sense to sign a 28-year-old defenseman to this contract when it doesn't kick in until he's 29 and you have 8 years left. You have already seen the decline in performance from last year to this year, and it feels like you're trickling down, and it's just going to go further and further. And that's not great. That is an extension you want to avoid, and it really a situation you want to avoid at any cost. But you look at what is happening with Yegor Sharangovich. You jumped the gun. Not you. Craig Conroy jumped the gun. Signed him immediately after he had a career year, and now he still gets paid even though he kind of sucks. And I feel like tying up that kind of money in term with an older player is just not worth the risk. If he would be open to taking a shorter deal, sure. Do I think that's going to be the case? No. I do feel like Connie is going to do whatever he needs to do to sign Andersson. The same way he was doing whatever he could to get Elias Lindholm to sign. offered him $8.5 million, or not $8.5 million, $8.8 million. I think anything, again, north of that 7.5, anything more than 7 or even 6.75 feels like an overpay. And this team is looking to get younger. They're looking to get better. They're looking to win. You don't do that with an old defenseman. Unless you're Zdeno Chara. Like, I don't think Andersson is even close to the point where, obviously, like, retirement's not on his mind by any means. But think of where, like, you've already seen one decline, or him start to decline 1 year into his late 20s. What are we going to do? Where are we going to be when he's 33 years old? What are we going to do after the second year of this contract and we are all begging Conroy to trade him? Oh, guess what? You could have done that now. There are so many ways to avoid this upcoming mistake that is clear as day that I don't necessarily think Conroy is going to avoid. Do I like Rasmus Andersson? 100%. Do I think that he should be with the Flames long term? No. Simply because, again, the way that he has been playing, maybe it's because of, the lapse or the gap between him and Kevin Ball. Maybe it's that. Or maybe there's something else. I just want to see way more from him if you're going to throw that kind of money in his direction. And again, look at what is happening with Sharangovich. Just look. It is right there in front of your face. But coming up next, we are going to talk about what is on our radar over these next few days, and when could Mikael Backlund actually see a return to the Calgary Flames lineup? If you are looking for tickets to a live event, you need to get in on the Game Time app. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that filters out the fluff and shows you only the best deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time scrolling through thousands of tickets. I just bought tickets over the weekend so I could see the Flames and Wild when the Wild come to town next month. I got killer deals thanks to the Game Time Picks app, Game Time Pick selection, and I was able to see my view from the seat. And I got peace of mind with the no surprise fees and lowest price guarantee. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Thanks everyone for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you're following me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Just Valmosto. So Mikael Backlund has been out for a few games now after leaving the game against Vancouver with an upper body injury. And that's, he's been working his way back. He's skated with the group today. It was an optional skate, so he did his little workout. Great to see him back out on the ice, and I think that all signs kind of point to him returning to the Dallas game. Huska said that he will not start tonight against Seattle. He will continue to get better. Sharangovich is still in, which makes me wonder, What does this lineup look like when Backlund returns? I am a big proponent of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. However, there are some certain things that I think need fixing in this lineup, and that, of course, is the face-off wins. I think that Backlund's talent at the dot gets kind of overlooked, and I mean, I do it myself, so I do take him for granted there. But one thing that we all keep talking about is Sharangovich and how yesterday uh, his position at practice kind of indicated he would be the extra forward and he'd be sitting tonight against the Kraken. And, Backlund just isn't ready yet. And that's fine. I'd rather not rush him back in general, but especially if this team is hoping to play or make the playoffs. You cannot play hockey with a scrambled egg brain if a concussion is, in fact, what happened. But with Sharangovich and his struggles continuing to be as prominent and relevant as they have been, thanks to the lack of scoring and defensive inability, what do you do with him? I think that if he sits, that's fine. You need to, at some point, send a message. You have to send him a message. And not just him, any player. And I don't care if he scores a goal tonight. I don't. I mean, yes, that's good. That's great. Glad he did that. But that doesn't take away from everything that has been happening, that has not happened, that continues to be missing from his game, just like last year. I do not think that Elias Lindholm was the answer for Sharangovich. I do not think that Jonathan Huberdeau is necessarily the answer for Sharangovich. However, I do believe the Flames need to wake up and make some roster changes or lineup changes. I think that Sharangovich just needs to be taken off of the center as a whole. I don't really understand it. I don't really like it, but here we are. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm partial to Zary and how I want him to play center and how it makes the most sense and made the most sense a few weeks ago to scratch or not scratch him, move him to center. Like why wouldn't you do that? It feels like a big mess. And I think Ryan Huska is doing what he can. I don't think it's his best options. I truly think his best options would be sitting Sharangovich and putting Zary back at center. But there, for whatever reason, that's just not going to happen. I guess at the end of the day, all you can hope for is effective play from these players. I don't think that if Sharangovich does well tonight, that should erase what's led up to this point. And I don't think I don't care if he has a career game. To me, that doesn't matter. He needs to be a consistent player. And we are not seeing that. So where is it? That will do it for me here on today's episode of Locked On Flames. Thank you all so much for joining me. I hope you have a fantastic evening. I will be back tomorrow talking about tonight's game against the Seattle Kraken and whatever else may get thrown our way here on Locked On Flames.